Hello and welcome to Sound and Vision, episode 6, Scream and the Revival of the Teen Slasher Movie. I am once again your host, Ian James, and again, of course, I'm joined by the brilliant and beautiful and always present Miss Hope Wade.
Hello.
And as I said from the top of the show, we're discussing Scream today.
And so, teen slashers of that.
Of what came after it, yeah.
Yeah, like 90s to 2000, mid-90s to 2000, I think.
Glossing over, I'll say. I'm not saying we're going to go into detail about any of those films, so I'm not going to bore you, as I probably did on the last show, with a load of Rocky sequels. I swear I'll keep it short and sweet.
Oh, yeah, but this is always fun. Teen slashers.
Okay. So first of all, I just want to ask, are you a fan of?
Very much. Big fan. I remember seeing it in the theater.
The original Scream.
The original Scream. I was 21 in 96.
Yeah, when it was released.
Yep. And I went in not knowing anything about the film because, we didn't have spoilers or anything.
Yeah.
We didn't have the internet.
Yeah.
At least in my household, we didn't have the internet. I don't know who else was, but we didn't have any of that good stuff. So it was just like I don't even remember. I probably just saw it on TV, like an advert. Like,
I know I did.
Yeah, I don't remember reading too much about it in magazines. So I was shocked at the opening scene with Drew Barrymore.
Yeah, like you said, I came across it sheerly by a trailer on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, it was 96, and in my house then, I grew up very close to my sisters, anyone who knows me. I remember there being, like, they were fans of Friends, is what I'm trying to say. And at the time, there was this trailer, and it was a horror movie, and it had Courtney Cox from Friends, and it was directed by Wes Craven. So for me, it was like, oh, Wes Craven. And my sister was like, oh, Friends. So I was like, oh.
Best of both worlds.
Yeah, so we'll go and check this out together. Mm-hmm. So I went with both my sisters, actually, to watch it, and I was only 16. And it was the first 18 movie that I ever went to watch at a cinema. So I got fond memories for that reason.
How'd you get in at 16 if you were 18?
Well, I used to buy all my friends cigarettes and alcohol.
What?
They used to send me into shops to go and get them.
Why you?
Because I looked older than the rest of us.
So they didn't even card anybody?
No. It helped also that way. I kind of had friends that worked in some of these shops as well, and it was kind of very sly,
Oh, well, yeah. Well, you were the tall one of the group,
so
probably.
I was always sent in to get...
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a whole nother show.
16?
Yeah.
God, you're like my boy toy or something now. I feel like it.
Yeah.
I got a young boy toy.
There you go. See? Perks of the job. Okay, so talking about Scream, starting right at the beginning, I guess. So originally it came as an idea by Kevin Williamson.
Yep.
Of
Dawson's Creek.
Yeah, future teeny TV kind of.
Teen movie.
Yeah. It was based on a couple of things. One, a true case. I think based on a case called the Gainesville Ripper. Which is a case from over your way in Florida in 1990.
Of course it's Florida.
Where 5 people were killed over 4 days.
Wow.
Students on a campus, I think it was.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so he had that in the back of his mind. So it was kind of a shared that happening. Mm-hmm. Like, sort of, death among kids. And also, obviously, a love of classic slasher movies. Namely, Halloween, which, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, but mainly Halloween. Which, he will reference many times, as you know, in his movie Scream. So he writes this screenplay called Scary Movie. Is the name of the screenplay. Mm-hmm. Pitches it around for someone to buy it, to get it. And at this point, he's done nothing. So he's not like Kevin Williamson from Dawson's Creek. He's just a young American writer trying to get a start. Mm-hmm. So by taking this screenplay around, eventually it gets picked up through Miramax or one of the smaller parts of that company called Dimension Films, which were mainly for the teeny market kind of thing, which the notorious Harvey Weinstein was in charge of, and he picked it up and gave it the go ahead and said, "Yep, I'll buy this and let's go make it into a movie." And the only thing he didn't like was the title. He wasn't happy with the old Scary Movie title, which is funny because obviously that became the title of a spoof of this movie eventually. And I think he came up with the idea of Scream. That was his title. So Arvy's input to this he called it Scream.
Oh, okay.
So the next thing, once they got it up and running, was to kind of find a director to do the movie. And so I hear, again, it's just rumour, but there's a list of people that he approached to make the movie. Robert Rodriguez, who was, would become a part of Dimension, films and stuff shooting. All the Miramax lot that, like the Faculty and Sin City and stuff were all made through that company. But so yeah, Rodriguez, Danny Boyle, which really miffs me.
Yeah.
Because he would have just done Trainspotting at that point. I'm not really sure it was what I even thought of him. Sam Raimi was another suggestion. And eventually he set on Wes Craven, who didn't want to do it at this point. Wes Craven was coming off a career of horror movies. And had somehow started the subgenre which you love of meta horror. Not that he really started it. I mean, film historians will find films made years ago where they'll say, well, that was meta long before Wes Craven
Oh
did.
Yeah, because we've watched old, like,
where you see
80s
people
and
breaking the
70s.
third wall, and there's jokes
talking
and in
into-
jokes, and characters have seen horror films. But maybe like a mainstream audience hadn't seen those kind of jokes. Do you know what I mean? And it was quite fresh, and this is a big part of the appeal of Scream. It was a big commercial, made in Hollywood movie, and the kind of audience that it pulled in then, was not the hardcore horror fans like, ourselves, who grew up on these lesser known low budget movies that are far more accessible now to us, to see that there was time before Scream that these jokes and ideas were already out there. And maybe when we grew up with VHS tapes and stuff, we weren't exposed to that many films to see those jokes, and now that you can find these jokes everywhere now. But anyway, so Wes Craven's approach, he doesn't want to do horror films. The last two movies he had made, obviously, said was New Nightmare, which is the most crucial one here, because, like I said, it was a meta movie
It was a
about Nightmare on Elm Street made into a
fucking
film.
meta. Like, I hate the word. Like, I don't even like the word.
Okay. But, I think New Nightmare is a clever movie, and I appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah.
And then he did Music of the Heart, which is a drama with Meryl Streep, which is the most un-Wes Craven film that there is. I don't think he did that much business. And so Wes Craven really didn't want to do it, but he read through the script, and apparently liked what he read, and decided to direct it on the sheer... apparently, he the major reason he did it is because he thought the script was funny. He thought that was slightly different, but more so that Drew Barrymore at this point was tied into the project. She was the first person to come aboard with this project. The script was handed out for people to read. Drew Barrymore read it, loved it, wanted to do it. Whereas Craven's like, oh, Drew Barrymore's doing it, so I'll do it. So Drew Barrymore's the first, she's cast as Sydney Prescott, which is the heroine of the movie.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I could not see her being Sydney now.
Yeah, but that's what it was.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we would have got the other sequels if Drew Barrymore was to be Sydney. Do you? Like, I don't think she would have
Apparently
stayed on to do them.
Apparently Kevin Williamson had kind of wrote part 2 at this point as well.
Yeah.
So he was already thinking ahead. He was like, oh, I can make turn. If this works, I've basically got the, blueprint for a franchise.
Well, I think he did that too with I Know What You Did Last Summer, because it was back to back. So he must have he probably had overflowing of ideas.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, well, I'll keep this on the back burner and then just make it into a part 2. So he did do 1 and 2 back to back, and he did I Know What You Did. Yeah,
Scream 1 and 2. Yeah, I Know What You Did Last Summer, which we'll get to a little bit later.
Yeah.
So yeah, Drew Barrymore signs on. It's good to go, and then she has to. I'm not really 100% sure of the reason, but she kind of drops out, and she feels so bad because at this point the whole project's being built almost for her. And being the trooper that she is, she's like, well, I'll do the small part at the beginning as a favour. I'll play the Casey babysitter character at the beginning of the movie, which we'll point out later on is one of the high points of the movie, I think.
Yeah.
So fair play to her for kind of saying, well, I'll do something for the movie. So then obviously it was to find a replacement then. And Wes Craven suggested Neve Campbell.
Nev, I think.
We'll go with Neve.
Yeah.
Suggested Neve Campbell after seeing Party of Five.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah, she was huge on that.
Yeah, and that's what he's seen. And he's, we'll get her to play the wholesome.
Yeah, she was
final
wholesome.
girl. Yeah. But when approached with it, she wasn't overtly keen because she had just come off the craft. And she said, I don't want to just keep making horror films. I want to try something different. But Wes Craven kind of persuaded her. It was just like, Wes Craven, it might be worth doing. So she does. Other people, the Gail Weathers character then, who's played by Courtney Cox, at this time trying to escape Friends, apparently. Trying to do something other than Friends. I think she was fed up of being Monica from Friends. So she, even though it's not the most edgiest movie ever, but, it was a breakaway.
She'll always be Monica.
I think so. But again, Brooke Shields was the original choice.
Oh, really?
But she turned it down, yeah.
She would do a good job.
Yeah, I kind of see where they're coming from with that one. Other characters, the Billy Loomis character there. I can't remember because there's a whole list of people who actually auditioned for that one, including David Arquette went in for the Billy character, the boyfriend.
Ew, but
Skeet
he's
Ulrich,
so much older, though.
I know, but he still went out for it, and they were like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, no, that would be too weird.
And the funniest thing is, he said, well, can I read for the
Deputy
Dewey? But originally in Kevin Williamson's screenplay, Dewey is the square-jawed, heroic, hunky policeman. Mm-hmm. And they were like, you don't really fit that bill. But apparently he kind of kept on it, Wes Craven.
But even with the name Dewey, like, that just seems like a...
Apparently, I'm not saying in the original screenplay it was Dewey, because it sounds like Dewey the Doofus, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But he was written a certain way, and not the way he comes out in the final film, which, if you're a fan or not, I'm not sure if you're a fan of his character or not, but it is principally down to David Arquette making that character.
His faces and the goofy faces and the weird look.
Should we say, unique acting style?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he shaped the Dewey role, basically.
Yeah.
But he was a big Wes Craven fan, apparently. Mm-hmm. He absolutely adored The Hills of Eyes and stuff, and apparently he kept ringing him up, and he landed himself with the Dewey role. And so Billy Loomis, like I just said, eventually went to Skeet Ulrich, who'd also come off The Craft, so new.
He was the new Johnny Depp.
Yeah, and jokingly, that's half the reason he was cast. Mm-hmm. Is because he resembled a young Johnny Depp.
Oh, okay.
And they thought that'd be a nice link in with Nightmare. That's why he climbs through the window as well. That wasn't in the original screenplay.
I never knew that.
Yeah, and that's why. So lots of little Wes Craven. It's the meta.
Yeah, the meta.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it on casting then. Not really too overly sure everyone else kind of came to the project. They shot the movie for 14 million, which is a relatively small budget. I know it sounds like a lot of money here, but for horror films, it's not the biggest budget in the world. But they don't throw money at horror films anyway.
They had to triple that, didn't they?
Oh yeah, the budgets go up on these films, as you'll see as we carry on.
No, I mean, like, they probably raked in.
Oh yeah, 173 million.
Oh, okay.
So 14 million went in, 173 million came out. Shot the film in California. Interestingly, a bit of trivia for you again, is the house at the beginning, which Case is babysitting and the Drew Barrymore part at the beginning. That actual house is opposite the house from Cujo. So on the other end of the street is the house they use for Cujo.
Oh, okay.
And also, I remember reading this a while back, and these little things always stick with me. I'm terrible for facts and stuff. The Rose McGowan character, I forget her name in the movie, which is terrible at me.
Tatum.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Her house is sort of 2 houses down from the house used in Pollyanna with Haley Mills, the Disney one, and also a couple of houses down from where Teresa Wright lives in Shadow of a Doubt by Hitchcock. So it's quite funny that you would move a street down and the next minute you're on the set of Back to the Future, or that's that kind of thing. Which being the movie geek that I am, that sort of trivia stuff makes me laugh. Anyway, in terms of plot, for anyone who hasn't seen the movie, but I'm pretty sure you have, Drew Barrymore plays this opening 10-minute sequence in the movie, which is probably the most famous part of it all. It's basically this small little community that's terrorized by a killer who rings his victims, plays games with his victims, and then it focuses in on a band of teenage kids who are not like your average teenage kids. These are more smart-assy, kind of know-it-all. The meta thing, again, I have to keep using that word, but these are kind of kids that know horror films and know how things work, so it's an excuse to cram in as many jokes as they can.
Yeah, it was always a lot of not one-liners, but references.
Yeah,
to...
loads, which is part of the fun of the movie, I think. Now.
Yeah, I loved it for that. Reference here and there, just like when you see famous people in movies and you watch it for that reason. Just like Drew Barrymore, I was shocked that she died in the first. She gets
killed off is the first victim.
In the first scene, yeah.
Which is a scene that works really well, I think, in the movie. Kind of pulls a psycho then, should we say, by killing Janet Leigh first. But even earlier in the movie, that even made much of the character, really.
Yeah, because I wasn't expecting it, so I'm like, oh my God, because, I went because I knew she was in it.
Yeah.
Big fan of Drew, so I was shocked and I was upset that she was gone already, but the movie was just so good that it kept my interest, and I'm like, wow, they did a really good job with it when I left the theater. Yeah,
and it made it saying about Kevin Williamson basing the whole thing on his love of slasher movies. I remember reading, again at the time of its release, an article where they talked to Brian De Palma, one of my favourite filmmakers who famously did Carrie and Dress to Kill and Scarface and Untouchables and millions of movies. And he really didn't like it at all. He said, I went to watch it as a popcorn movie and a homage to these slasher movies. So he said, I was expecting lots of, over-the-top death scenes and, gratuitous sex, because that's what was in those movies originally. And he said none of that was in there, so how can it be a slasher tribute? He really didn't like it.
Yeah, now that I
Didn't
think
go for
about it, there wasn't any sex scenes. Like,
I know. So almost, even though it's made in tribute of those movies, it's like
Yeah.
a very, because I think the film splits people right down the middle. I think there's the people that like the movie, and then there's people who really don't. And the people who really don't, because they were brought up on a lot of those independent movies from the late 70s, early 80s, which had no name casts when they were made. I know some of the actors went on to our careers. So to them, Scream was like, oh, we got some chick from Friends, and oh, there's Drew Barrymore, and I don't want this. I want unknowns, and I want that sense of danger that I don't know what's going to happen. And here I feel it feels like a polished vehicle, which is kind of. It seems like a harsh thing to say, because at that point, I think you've really got to look at horror in the mid-90s, when just as Scream was made. Just before, I think, like, for me personally, like, again, this will probably be people disagree with me, but I think the 90s is a weak decade for horror movies, in my opinion. And going into Scream, for the first part of the decade, we stopped. It almost felt like they'd stopped making horror movies, per se. I mean, the only things that were out there as horror films were sequels, and by this point, every franchise was rubbish. I'm sorry, but Nightmare on Elm Street was dead in the water. Friday the 13th, Halloween, all these other franchises for a second were completely.
I'm trying to
wait
pipe
for the
in.
jump in.
Hellraiser, though, was 1990, wasn't it? Like
87.
87?
Yeah, so by the 90s,
so the sequels.
yeah, everything's washed up. So you've got this big board of sequels, which are becoming slightly more and more boring.
Yeah.
There's a censorship, as everyone knows about horror movies. The late 80s, censorship came down on these movies really harsh. So
Oh, yeah.
gore scenes and stuff were taken away from movies and chopped and edited and all the rest of it. So basically, in the early 90s, you had Silence of the Lambs, which is more of a psychological thriller, but at the time that would feel as close as you would get to a horror movie being made in Hollywood. And in terms of Silence of the Lambs, like, inspired Seven, and you had this serial killer movie thing going on. There wasn't really
Dracula. Bram Stoker's
yeah,
Dracula was what, 90?
A big literary adaptation, of Gothic horror, which inspired the cycle of those movies. Kenneth Branagh's Frankenstein and Mary Shelley, which
Yeah, that was
Mary Riley, sorry. So you had all those kind of movies being made, but like horrors, we knew horror, especially from the 80s. They stopped doing that. So when Scream came out in 96, it was weird that anyone was making that kind of horror movie, and it's not as rough around the edges as the ones that we all grew up and loved. It is polished. It's it's Harvey Weinstein and Wes Craven playing the game. Then, do you know what I mean? So taken in those terms, I quite enjoyed it for what it was, and for me it was like, I haven't really seen a horror film for a long time, or anything that wasn't based around a load of kids getting killed, and is polished, and as this film is or looks, I was just quite happy to have an old-fashioned slasher movie. We hadn't had a slasher movie at this point, so in 96 when Scream came out, there hadn't really been anything that inventive since the original Nightmare on Elm Street in 84, which is like nearly 10 years. So we've had 10 years of rubbish horror sequels, give or take. I'm sure some people would disagree. Rubbish horror sequels, and everything else had just dried up. So Scream was like, oh, that's how they used to make horror films. And if you was a slasher fan, I find it harder. You could be negative towards it, and the only thing I think you can really do is just embrace the fact that someone had made one of these films again, on a decent-ish budget, and by someone as good as Wes Craven. I think.
And you have to think of Kevin Williamson, though, because he knew how to write teen scripts, like Dawson's Creek, and
what else did he do in TV?
I know he did The Following, which came very later on, but that was more adult theme. I can't remember what else he did in TV. I know he did a few TV shows, but nothing really
on the scale of Dawson's Creek.
On the scale of Dawson's Creek, but his movies, like I Know What You Did Last Summer, The Faculty, that was all. He knew how to write for a teen role, I think.
He knew teenagers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, because Dawson's Creek started out in 98, if I'm correct. I think it ran from 98 to 2003. But because of Scream then, it allowed him to go to this network TV and say, well, I can pitch this show about teenagers. And so he used Scream as a springboard, fair play to him. But he, like you said, he came back to write for these horror sequels and stuff. So yeah, it did launch his career, and it launched a lot of careers. Like, as again, Nev Campbell, I know it said he did Party of Five, but this really heightened the profile. And it sort of gave David Arquette a face, and Matthew Lillard, Skeet Ulrich, Rose McGowan, so all these people were a bit more exposed to a mainstream audience.
Because they had some stuff, because I love Matthew. He did Serial Mom, right, a couple years before that. Rose McGowan did Dune Generation a couple years before that.
But this is what gave him mainstream exposure.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Scream's a big boost for all the kind of careers concerned with that. The Scream face killer again.
Ghostface?
Ghostface, as it became to know, which is based on the famous painting of the Scream.
Yeah.
I remember going back to my cinema experience of it. Then I remember a lot of people laughing, and it was funny because I went with both my sisters. Jen, who I grew up very close to, we loved horror films, and so we would share our love of horror together. And then my elder sister, who really didn't like horror films, but we kind of dragged her along to this one, and even she found this one funny.
That's what I loved about it, because I was gonna say it's kind of like a comedy.
Yeah. But,
more than...
Again, that kind of annoys the purist, though. If you're like a horror purist, you're like, oh, I don't want it to be funny. But I think that's...
See, I like funny.
Charm.
Yeah, I like... Just like I like cheesy 80s horror movies. Something that has a little bit of humor to it always adds, I think. So this one, I mean, even though it was more on the comedy side, I think it did a good job with, just bringing it to... They made it more jokey, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Like the slasher. And Ghostface is like, a Halloween costume that you get, and it still is. Like,
yeah, a lot of kids still wear it, don't they?
Oh, God, yeah. It's still a huge prop. Like, if you go to any of the Halloween stores, there's always a Ghostface. Just like there's always a Chucky, there's always a Michael Myers. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, he's become one of these icons now.
Yeah.
Or recognizable figures of horror. But I just remember a lot of that audience, because it kind of almost plays it for laughs. They met at times at Screamface gets bashed or hit over the head, or runs into a door, falls over,
and it's such a simple costume, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but at the same time, it's almost like a double-edged sword, because the costume is quite childish, like you said, and the fact that he's constantly getting knocked over or made a fool of. Do you think that takes you out of the movie in a way that you no longer find him scary?
Is it like a Scooby-Doo? Like,
Yeah, but it almost plays like a R-rated, 18-rated, whatever Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
It does feel kind of like that,
like
which is funny
because
Matthew Lillard went on to play
Shaggy in the Scooby-Doo movies.
Very apt.
He knew what he was doing.
He did. And the voice is provided by an actor called Roger L. Jackson. No relation to Samuel L. Jackson. I beat you to that one. I thought he was going to come out with that. He didn't. Who does the voice for all of them.
Yeah.
So he does the whole surprise, Sydney.
Oh, okay.
Which is
for all the movies.
Yeah, which is a completely appalling impression. But like you said, part of the appeal, again, is the fun factor of this movie.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing that I think we're both kind of celebrate. I know me and you were fans for that reason, because it was, as well as, like I said before, annoying maybe a horror audience then by playing it for laughs, and it's always so polished, it's not bloody, there's no sex and all this kind of stuff, but it was smart and funny. And that's the thing that when I first watched it, I took away and appreciated that it had that element. And right down to, as we said again, but we need to say, the in-jokes of movies that are referenced. There's the whole Friday the 13th question that Drew Barrymore gets wrong at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. Who was the killer in Friday the 13th?
Exactly, which is great. And then you've got the character that works at the video store, Randy, is it?
Yeah,
and of course,
God. Jamie Kennedy.
Yeah, but it's a funny kind of character that he's giving out like trivia and info about how to survive a slasher movie, because it's almost like they know that they're inside.
But you always have that friend that kind of knows
his stuff.
The facts.
Exactly.
I'm pointing at you.
Oh, okay. That makes me Randy.
Oh no.
That sounds really wrong.
Why did I say that? Are you Randy?
Not at this very minute, but give me
darn.
Give me a couple more juices. So yeah, I guess that will make me the Randy character, but he kind of has a way. Oh no.
What?
Right, okay. So he kind of knows how to survive this kind of movie, all the tropes of the genre, which the film plays up to the tropes, and we've lost hope ways now. But the film plays up to all the tropes of the genre, but in a self-referential, knowing way. So like you said, you get the Friday the 13th jokes. I think there's jokes in there for obviously Prom Night and Terror Train get a mention. And also, I remember there being a nod. I think Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal Lecter gets a mention or something. The Bad Seed.
Yeah.
There's loads of little crammed in there little in-jokes that work, and of course Halloween mostly, because the characters at the end of the movie when they come together for a house party, which ends the movie, are all watching Halloween, and there's a certain scene in the movie that plays out at the exact same time as Halloween is playing on the TV, which is obviously like the big meta in-joke, which but it kind of works, so that's all kind of fun. And then the cameos too, because Joseph Whipp, who's a minor character actor who was in Nightmare on Elm Street, is John Saxon's deputy, is also a police deputy in this one. So you kind of go, it's the guy from Nightmare on Elm Street. And then, of course, you've got Wes Craven playing Freddy Krueger, the janitor in the hallway.
Oh, yep.
In the Freddy get-up, which is kind of fun. And Emery Winkler, who's uncredited on this movie, by the way, because he said he didn't want to distract.
Wasn't he the teacher or the principal?
Yeah,
the
he gets
principal.
killed. Yeah. And his character was almost brought into the movie. Again, this is another Harvey Weinstein idea, unfortunately. But he said that there was a lull in the screenplay where there wasn't a death for like 20 minutes or something, and he said we need to put a death in there. So they created this character for Henry Winkler to play, but Henry Winkler, you know, they wouldn't credit his name on the cast because it would be just too distracting. People would be like, oh, the Fonz is in there, still going to look for the Fonz. So he asked to not be credited for the role. But, you know, it fills that 20-minute gap, and it's a good little scene. It's a funny little scene. Linda Blair also plays a reporter in it, and she'd worked with Wes Craven on was it Summer of Fear, I think, back in 1978, so they knew each other. So you got loads of little cameos, lots of in-jokes.
And it works.
Scream. Yeah.
Yeah. Scream is a good one.
So, yeah.
And then it spawned sequels, of course.
Once again, just before we get there, I just got to point out that I think that Skeet Ulrich and Matthew Lillard, I forget Billy Loomis and Stu in it. I think they make a good
team.
Yeah. It's those two doing the murders together. And,
I love Matthew. He was so over the top, like with his, you know.
But they both played quite hammy.
Yeah, they did. Especially,
All the finger licking. And, it's just like, come on.
Yeah.
I feel a little woozy here. What business? Yeah. But it's good fun. I like it. Yeah. It's pretty cool. So at this point, we got this film with teeny characters, and we're kind of all getting established in this movie. We don't know who's going to survive. We don't know who's doing it. And this is the first film to trick us that there is two people. There's two killers. They're school friends. They're teenagers killing their own, you know, friends from school and stuff. So it's a great kind of little ending. I remember a lot of people walked out of the cinema satisfied with that as well. Like, wow, you know, I didn't really see that coming. That was very clever. I've never really seen that done in the movie before. So there's lots of pluses for it. And as you said, because of the success, we get Scream 2.
Yeah. Just to touch on the soundtrack for a minute, though. Like, I don't even remember the soundtrack to that, except it was just a bunch of 90s covers songs. But the main score...
By Marco Beltrami, I think his name.
And you said it was...
it's highlighted in a lot of things. People say, you know, it's quite an inventive score for the time.
I don't remember it at all.
I have to be completely honest, neither do I.
It wasn't memorable for me. I didn't really care for it, obviously.
So I'm not just going to sit here like the smart ass and go, it's very, you know... I'm not going to go on about the score because I didn't even remember it all, but I've read in quite recently about scores for horror films and stuff, and it did come up, and I was thinking, wow, so I don't even remember his score for it. But anyway, that got a lot of praise. There's a lot of covers in there as well. There's a slowed down version of Don't Fear the Reaper, which again is another nod to Halloween.
Yeah.
Chucked in there as another in-joke. But yes, Scream 2, which is 1997, and the first of, as we know, the sequels. Again, they were very clever because Kevin Williamson has also got this up and going. Wes Craven's quite happy to sign on and direct another one of these films. He enjoyed the experience of making the first one. And you've got a lot of recurring cast members from the first one, which works, you know, for the continuity of the movies. You feel good that, you know, you're surrounded again by the characters that you've got to kind of like from the first one. But unfortunately, this time round for me, it just felt a little thin on the ground. Again, I enjoyed it. I'm not saying I didn't like it, but it was like I sense straight away there was a step down from the first one, if I'm being honest.
I didn't mind the second one. I thought they both I think it was more even, maybe a little bit lesser, but I think it was pretty decent. I mean, okay. I love Sarah Michelle Gellar, so her being in it was a fave.
It was a big bonus for you.
It was a bonus for me, and I love.
I'm sure it was a bonus for a lot of teenage boys as well.
A boner or a bonus? A boner bonus? A boner probably. Bonus, yeah. And it had Rebecca Gayheart in it, which, you know, she was known to be in a lot of things back then.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in Hollywood kind of seen this as a success. I'll get that word out in it, of the first one, so signed on for this, because like Jerry O'Connell's in it from Stand By Me years ago, Laurie Metcalf, Timothy Oliphant, the Oliphant Man.
Yeah, and he's like huge still now. Like he was just in the Quentin Tarantino movie,
which we just watched. Yeah, and he's the Oliphant Man. His name's
Elephant.
just...
I know, it's so class. Weird.
Yeah.
But, and he's kind of weird, but he's oddly liked. I love him, for some reason. Like, he's just so weird. I like him. But the opening scene, I remember, and because I'm not a huge fan of Jada Pinkett Smith.
Yeah, he was also turned up for this Will Smith's wife.
Yep, and she's in the opening scene, which is a take on He Knows You're Alone.
Yeah, complete steal. Yeah.
Oh, complete steal from that movie, because that was the movie theater death. Somebody creeping up and stabbing you. And I liked it. I really liked it. I'm glad she got killed off first because I probably wouldn't have liked the movie as much as she stayed in it.
Her and the boyfriend.
Yeah, her and her boyfriend. It was good. I liked that.
And they're at a premiere of a movie which is
called
based
Stab on the movie,
which is based on the
which
first
is very
one.
clever.
So again, the meta cycle continues.
Yes, with Heather Graham playing
Casey.
Yep.
Okay, who plays Sydney then? Is it
Tori Spelling?
Oh, dear.
90210.
Yeah, there it is. Is every single show we've done so far, you've managed to squeeze that in?
Well, I'll just say Rebecca Gayheart was also in 90210 as Dylan McKay's wife, Antonia. So there you go. Like, there's 2 references of 90210. I'm sure I'll think of another. But yes, I can put it into every... You know why? Because that show is like a stepping stone for every other show after that.
Yeah.
Every movie, every show. It doesn't matter. They've been in it. They've been in 90210. I can tell you.
Can I just point out that any film we ever watch together, if any character has had a role on 90210, that is the major point of the movie. It's like, bang, it's him. It's the guy who played it. Dylan's cousin's brother's girlfriend's dad.
Yeah,
something.
we were watching Lifetime and I saw Vivica A. Fox. I was like, yeah, she was in 90210. You wouldn't think so, but she was.
Yeah, Kill Bill meant nothing. It was just 90210.
Exactly.
Okay, so the budget on this one is 24 million. So 10 million up from the previous one, and it makes exactly the same amount of money as the first one. So all's rosy here. And this time, the Sydney character who survived the first one is now at college, where she's joined by Randy. I don't know how many times I'm going to fit, and every time I can't even say that word now. There you go. That was the Muttley laugh.
Yeah.
He's still Randy in this one, by the way.
He's extra Randy in this one.
Yeah.
He does his like John Travolta dance or move, doesn't he? In this, he
doesn't get any action in it. So he's just still Randy.
Is he still the virgin?
I think so.
Because is that what? But then he dies.
Oh, maybe he's not. Maybe he hasn't told us something.
Oh.
Anyway, yeah.
His hand is his friend.
What's happened here? Okay, so Randy, no more, because he dies in this one. So I won't ever have to mention his name again. Or I might have to, actually, because he has a fleeting part in part 3.
Comes back.
So yeah, so again, the Sydney character is in college with friends, and there's a big emphasis in this movie on sequels, which is very clever, because obviously it's part 2, and we're going to talk about great part 2s, and there's a reference to I'm pretty sure there's a reference to Evil Dead 2, Terminator 2. So there's a lot of in-jokes towards the sequel, which, is kind of clever, and I quite enjoy that sequence because I'm a geek, and those things appeal to me. And also it plays a lot more on the media, and media making stars of these kind of people that are murderers basically, but media can create celebrity out of really bad things, should we say. So yeah, it plays on that. Courtney Cox is back as Gail. Do is back. We get to this bravado piece at the end where they're on a stage and Jerry O'Connell's hung up like he's Christ or something. And
because they did a hazing on him or something.
Yeah,
the college haze.
Yeah, and then the Oliphant Man comes out and shoots him, and it's like, oh, Timothy Oliphant's the killer, but he was joined by Laurie Metcalf,
who played Billy Loomis's mom,
from the first one. So they're in on the script. So again,
there's always a motive, don't you know, Sydney? There's a motive.
Always. And that I can't even remember what the motive was for this one, but there was one, because there's always a motive. But again, you have 2 killers doing the murders again. So again, it's like, you wouldn't see that coming twice in a row, and this time it's a man and a woman doing it. And again, so that's the gimmick, I guess, of part 2 and why it kind of works. You don't completely guess what's going on. But like I said, I remember feeling it was lesser than the first one. I kind of remember thinking at the end of this one, it was okay, it was kind of fun, but I think
too much shooting.
I think we're done. Yeah,
there was not enough stabbing and too much shooting.
But the shooting increases as the films go on. The gunplay in these movies, it just continues.
Oh, it's terrible. It's called Stab, right? Like the meta movie is Stab. It should be stabbing people, not shooting people.
But yeah, that's basically Scream 2. But again, it makes the money. Again, we're going to have a third. And I think at this point, they've commented on the sequel. So wouldn't it be great now if we make another film where we can finish it off and it will be a trilogy, and we'll make a point of as many jokes as we can that are actually about trilogies, which is where they're going to go for Scream 3.
Yeah. What year did that come out?
In 2000.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's 2 years later, and obviously the studio want to make Scream 3. Wes Craven's keen again to do it. Of course he is.
Now he's on board.
But Kevin Williamson's not. interestingly enough. And like you said, at this point, he's working hard on Dawson's Creek. And also, like you said, he started, I know what he did last summer, and he's the Faculty. So he's in this little gap, he's kind of made a niche for himself.
Yeah. Teaching Miss Tingle was another one. And he always likes to recycle his actresses and actors and stuff in movies.
I think a lot of writers do. They feel comfortable, people who they know will deliver their material. I think that's always been the kind of way.
Yeah, because he did H2O also. Which...
Yeah, again, made by Dimension Movies. It was smelling this whole teen slasher thing which we're going to build on there. That these sequels are all, not just the sequels to Scream, but that these other films are being made. I know what he did last summer, Urban Legend.
Yeah. He didn't do that one though.
No. But
it was part.
These films are being made
Dimension,
because Scream's made money. Let's all make a slasher movie.
And it had that
with teeny actors from TV.
Yeah, and his stuff always had the same kind of feel. Even though he did H2O, it still had that.
It's Dimension films, though, isn't it? So again, there's
vibe.
that. But it's that. Even to the studio, even to like Dimension Movies, then you know, there's like
played on that team.
Yeah, I mean, because basically H2O, which is basically Halloween 7 by this point. Don't dress it up any other way, it's Halloween 7.
Yeah.
And Halloween has become this horrible tired franchise by this point, so it's like we'll inject some energy back into it, and Jamie Lee Curtis is now keen to make a slasher movie again after all these years, because obviously there's money being made in these movies, and it kind of feels a little bit like that. And like you said, there's the reoccurring actors at Dimension Movies. You have Josh Hartnett, who just worked on The Faculty for Dimension, again written by Kevin Williamson, and we also have Dawson's Creek, Sarah...
What?
What's the girl from Dawson's Creek?
Which one?
The blonde.
Oh, Michelle.
Oh, yeah,
Williams.
her.
I'm like,
one.
Her name's not Sarah.
Who cares? They all blend, to be fair, they all blend into one.
You're confusing me. There's no Sarah.
No.
Michelle.
Oh, wow. Big difference. So, yeah, she comes in and plays in this. And again, it's just more the teeny faces at the time. But it's basically Halloween, the Scream sequel, because it feels like a Scream movie, but with Michael Myers in it.
Exactly. That's what I thought.
You know what I mean? There's no grit to it. It's safe. You know who's going to survive, which once we get around to doing a talk on the Halloween franchise, as I'm sure we will, I've got major issues with H2O, which I'll gladly point out for about an hour how poor it is.
The rant will come.
Definitely. I've got lots saved up for that, which I'll save you here now. So yeah, H2O is another one of those movies kind of made basically Halloween, but we've, Halloween featuring Scream face and a Michael Myers mask. Which is what these movies are kind of feeling like at this point. I as much as I enjoyed Scream for what it was at the time, it felt quite fresh. I think even for me, I know you might be a bit more lenient on some of these movies, but I did feel that it quickly dulled.
Oh, yeah. After 1 and 2. Yeah. 3 wasn't that great. Are you kidding me?
Before we get to Scream 3, though, but these other films that were coming in the wake, I'm talking about at the moment, it was just like, okay, Urban Legend, Valentine.
Oh. Was Valentine around that time? 2000?
Yeah, in the early 2000s. Cherry Falls.
Oh, I hated that.
Terrible.
That has a big following too, which I don't understand why people like it, but it's shit.
I know. Which I think I only watched that one sort of about, in the last 4 years.
Really?
Just because I didn't really fancy it. Right. No, yeah, well, it was, because once I finally seen it, I understood why it held it off for so long. But it was one of those films that came out, and like I said, I lost interest in the formula quite quickly. But I knew of it, and like you said, it has a cult reputation. So I thought, well, I'd better, do my job and make sure I see everything, which I do. And yeah, I remember thinking, this is terrible.
Yeah, it was bad.
So I wasn't sore about missing that one at all. I think the only one out of all those kind of movies that came after, even though it completely had its own premise, is Final Destination. I think it's the only one I really like.
Yeah,
which I think is just really fun, and it did something other than have the cast of Dawson's Creek being chased around by someone, again in the mask. But just, we'll slide back into 2000 now for Scream 3. So Wes Craven signs on to complete his trilogy. And this time Kevin Williamson's not on board. And I feel real bad now, because we've done this show, and I'd love to know why Kevin Williamson didn't do it, but he didn't do it. But I don't think there was a falling out with him and Wes Craven as sorts, because they went on to do the awful, may I add, Cursed.
Oh, with Christina Ricci?
Yeah,
that
Wes
was horrible.
Craven does a CGI werewolf movie, a CGI werewolf movie.
No, that was terrible.
But Kevin Williamson wrote the screenplay for that.
Really?
Yes. And then he eventually did come back and write Scream 4 when it was all late in the day.
Yeah, you could see that, because they recycled everything from part 1 into part 4 of Scream.
Yeah, because that was something we've seen a little bit more recently.
Yeah, and it was shit.
Yeah.
Like, seriously shit. Like, almost every scene was the same from part 1. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see it. Recycled. No.
Okay, so just before we go back there, because we will have to come hit part 4. Cause...
Yeah, we'll quickly go over part 3 because it wasn't that great. And you had Parker Posey, which I like. I like Parker Posey.
Is a lot of... Well, again, the in-jokes are here, and again, the cameo.
The meta. Mm-hmm.
And the cameo appearances, you can rattle them off if you remember them all. There was a lot.
Yeah.
Lance Henriksen, Roger Corman, Jay and Silent Bob.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, I don't remember that
Carrie
one.
Fisher, which is probably why Kevin Smith was there. He can smell Star Wars from like 200 miles away, which is probably why he's on the set. So yeah, lots of little cameos, fleeting appearances by these people for the sake of an in-joke here, because we haven't got Kevin Williams' smart script anymore, so we're going to just cram it with cameos.
Yeah, it was bad. Like, even the kills were bad.
I think it might have the most convoluted plot of the whole franchise, including 4.
Cotton Weary dies in that one, doesn't he? In the beginning.
Yeah, because there's always a famous death scene at the beginning. Yeah. Obviously, we had Drew Barrymore's brilliant babysitter from part 1. We had
Randy, who died in part 2.
Yeah, but opening scenes, yeah. You've got Jada Pinkett Smith in the cinema. And this time we've got a big character from the franchise, Cotton Weary, who's finally at this point got everything he always wanted to. He's been cleared of this murder from the first one. He's now become the media star. And he's killed off in the opening, which is the only shock that is going to come of this movie. And as I pointed out just before we went on, we were discussing Scream, and I always said, for me personally, once you get past the first 2 movies, you now know that they're not going to kill Nev Campbell, they're not going to kill Courtney Cox, they're not going to kill David Arquette. Yeah, because every scene that there's an opportunity to kill them, they're getting hit over the head with something plastic. They're getting stabbed in the knee, shot in the knee, stabbed in the shoulder. It's never like a death scene. So you just kind of know at this point, well, you're not going to kill those characters. So every time they're in danger, I'm bored because I know you're not going to kill them. So we'll have to kill off all these other people who turn up in these little cameo supporting parts. And as Hope mentions, there's a lot of those in this one. The McCarthy girl as well. Jenny McCarthy turns out gets killed. Patrick Dempsey's in this one as well.
Oh, no.
Who I know Hope absolutely loves.
No, I don't. He's so weird. You know what's funny? I do like his movies that he's in. I don't like the McDreamy, the whole Grey's Anatomy, whatever bullshit that show was. But
you like the 80s stuff, didn't you? When he had the nose, when he was like Sean Penn's little brother.
Yeah, but he's so weird that I kind of like him. He's so weird, but
when he was all nasally and weedy.
Yeah, he's just odd. He's an odd one.
But Can't Buy Me Love's a favourite here, though.
Oh, very much. That's one of my all-time favourite movies.
I know. Just thought you grew up into that big grey hunk that everyone loved. Who knew?
I don't know. I know. Like, where did that even come from? It's like, I don't know what's wrong with people sometimes.
I know. That never happened to me. How come I never blossomed into the square-jawed, grey-haired hunk?
Oh, come on. You're the English stud. Stud muffin.
Yeah, you just keep saying it. I'm never going to believe it. But anyway, okay. So, yeah, McDream is in this one.
McDreamy.
Okay. Completely convoluted plot. None of the death, like Hopper said, and it is completely true. There's one scene I remember where the rug gets pulled out under someone. And
they did a backflip.
It does a backflip and lands on his neck. And that's as inventive as the death scenes get in this, which is incredibly stupid. I don't think it's terrible, but it's very...
Oh, it's terrible.
Bland.
I say it's terrible.
Okay.
I don't like
terrible.
it.
I thought it was very bland. And this one doesn't, surprise, make a whole lot of money. So it's kind of like, we're done here.
But they come and bring out another one.
11 years later, though. I think at this point they were like happy that we've tied up the trilogy. Like, I have to mention his name again. Randy does come back and make some jokes about this being a trilogy. So again, he gets Randy. And
he gets on full meta and TV.
He does, yeah. And there's like, he made a video explaining to everyone about
before he died.
Like he almost knew he was going to die, and that if
must have had sex then.
If they're going to, I don't see what relevance that has to the movie at all. But yeah, so he dies.
You die if you have sex. Don't you know anything?
That's the slasher. Yeah, well, if I'm following the rules, yeah.
Yeah.
So
he's all about the rules.
Yeah. So that brings what should have been Scream to an end. The Courtney Cox character ends up getting engaged to Deputy Dewey with a ring in a book.
Oh, the ring in the book, like the dick in the box. The ring in the book. And I add, she had the worst bangs in the whole world.
Fringe?
Any girl, yeah, you call them fringe. We call them bangs. Oh, it was terrible.
Fringe.
Worst. It's like so... Yeah, I don't know what that period was.
You can tell how good the movie is, though. The only thing Hope's focusing on is people's haircuts at this
Fashion.
point, yeah, because
That's all I
she's
think
lost
about.
interest in...
Yeah, anything else?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It was the bright neon suits and bad haircuts. And in that, what was it, 2000?
Yeah.
Oh, it was terrible. Couldn't stand it.
One thing I have to say here, though, two things I'm going to point out about Scream 3 before I tie it completely up, is the voice changer.
Yeah.
That can
It's on the outside of the body.
just the fact that you can imitate anyone's voice now. You don't have to record their voice. You just go, right, I want to do a Dewey, and then it comes out like Dewey. Oh, I want to do a Gale, it'll come out like Gale. I don't get it. There's no such thing. That's just completely... that whole fucking... It's just awful.
Yeah.
The device of the voice changer that now can become any voice it wants is... I don't know words for it. And the other thing I want to make a point of here, it's quite funny, is Lance Henriksen plays the film producer that is at this point making Stab 3, which is funny because obviously we're on Scream 3. But the Lance Henriksen character was quite open about old Hollywood parts he had and old actresses that he used to take up to the back room to give him parts in movies. And he's almost playing Harvey Weinstein.
Oh, no.
He's still financing these movies. And it's kind of like... it feels like Harvey Weinstein said, can you write me into your script?
Yeah.
Because if you think about it...
Or they got inspiration from hanging out with them.
It's a little bit strange that the producer making the Stab movies is basically a slimy sexual predator. And also the director in the movie, which in this one is the killer. So and he happens to be Sidney's half brother or something. It's the most convoluted, like I said, most convoluted plot ever. But the director of Stab... So the producer of Stab is this Harvey Weinstein figure played by Lance Henriksen, but the director of Stab is by a character named Roman, which is that Polanski? Is he got? Just picked the worst people possible to make this movie. Just basically
somebody was
saying,
making a statement.
I think so, but it wasn't Kevin Williamson because he was on holiday shooting Dawson's Creek. I don't know what by that point. So yeah, those are the only.
They were at the creek. I wonder if that's really a creek. Wondering minds want to know. I don't know. Was it a creek?
Was there a creek in... I never watched it. I'm sorry,
creaky.
confession time. I've never seen it.
I like Joshua Jackson, so... and Katie Holmes
was that the one
okay.
Is that the one who looked like a potato?
No, I don't know. Dawson Creek had a big old potato banana head. Was he a banana head? And you say Joshua Jackson was
a potato, yeah. It was almost like Dawson's fruit bowl.
Dawson's fruit roll. It took me a little bit to get on board, but just because I loved everything about it, except Dawson was a whiny bitch. Couldn't stand him.
And he had a head shaped like a banana.
Yeah, and he's just so weird looking. I didn't like him at all.
He was a Spielberg fan though, wasn't he? But that's the only, to be honest, that's the only thing I know about it.
He had movie posters all over his wall.
Meta.
Getting back to...
Getting back to the Kevin Williamson vibe.
Yeah, we'll come back to Dawson's Creek on something.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, so that finished the Scream franchise, and at this point as well, when that came out in 2000, like I said, it made less money than the previous two, and the films that were coming slower now. It was like, oh, this whole thing is dried up now. Everyone's had enough of the slasher movie, you always know when you always kind of know when a genre's kind of run its course is when they start making spoofs. Once you start spoofing it, you know that it's had its day, and you can go for the history of any genre.
Oh, you mean like the scary movies
Yes.
that came out? Oh, I fucking hate those.
Yeah.
Like, they were terrible.
But the point being, it is now time to make a joke of these movies, and that's when you know that your days are done.
But the thing is, the movies were a joke to begin with. Like, they were lots of those jokes already in the movie, and then they just turned it around and made it even like worse. They just want to make like the worst of the worst movies with these scary teen movies. I don't know, what were they called? Scary Movie 5000?
Yeah, is this when the screen face is smoking pot and hiding behind the sofa and doing the Matrix?
Even and Tori Spelling was in one of those, and so was Kate Robertson, I think her name was, from who played Claire in 90210 as
there it is.
As Steve Sanders' girlfriend.
Yeah.
So yeah, like there was still like those people in it, and then you had Anna Faris, who what were those ones called? Are they
scary movies, aren't they?
Scary movies, but then they made some other side ones like Teen Scary something that had like.
Are you not making these up?
It had Jamie Presley. No, I'm not. It's like shit movie. It was all shit. All of those. I hated it. Didn't like it.
Okay. So
I'm done with that.
You done?
Yeah, and they should just never made those movies. And you know what? It had a market. Even Charlie fucking Sheen was in that.
Yeah. Are you done? Is it safe? I'm hiding right now behind the table.
I guess I'm done.
Okay. as I said, once the genre becomes a joke, we make spoof movies, and that has always happened. So it did happen, and then
spoof movies.
so that was the end. So that was the end of the whole slasher thing. And that, basically, in a nutshell, is the show, because it kind of came to an end. And by this point, there was a lot more independent horror films being made around about 2000, early 2000s then. That Hollywood got left behind again, thankfully, because it was never really great at this. Through the 90s, obviously, previous to that, of course it was. But there's a lot of stuff, independent stuff coming from like Europe and stuff, especially France had the whole extreme French cinema revival. You know, not even revival, it was their first time really, but they were on the map, you know, with horror movies. So the kind of American thing dropped out. And interestingly, 11 years later, someone decided to make Scream 4. Which, you know, well, it's not really much to say, but it's just interesting. Like 11 years later, it's like, oh, does everyone want a Scream movie? And it's like, I really didn't. I got to be honest, I didn't.
It was shit again. Like, seriously,
Yeah.
they just recycled everything, every little, with the tying up in the backyard. You had your favorite, Eric Roberts' daughter, Emma Roberts.
No, not Emma.
Oh, you love Emma.
I love Eric.
She's an extension of Eric.
Yeah, but she's disowned him, right? Okay.
Then you had the Culkin brother, Rory.
Yeah,
Culkin,
the strange
the
Culkin,
weird.
the strange one.
He is the oddball. He was in that Lords of Chaos recently, which is a really good movie.
Who's the girl from Heroes? The cheerleader girl, Hayden.
Pantera.
Yeah, she's here.
Pantera. I don't even know her fucking name, but she was just.
Not a fan of.
She's a 90s, you know, like, or that 2000 Disney, I think, girl.
And again, we got Sydney.
Oh, God.
Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox is back.
She's still alive.
Arquette is back.
She's got grey hair by now, right?
Okay, yeah, but what I'm saying again is those three principal characters are back, and again, fear not, they're not going to die. So, what's the point in putting them in this movie?
It was terrible. I remember the kills in that, and it was just so bad. Like, everything about that movie was just so bad.
Can I just say though, because I'm sure there's a lot of Scream fans. Well, hopefully a lot. Hopefully there's more than two listening to this show. But if there is a lot,
Stuart loves it. McKenna.
Stuart McKenna, yeah, is Scream fan number one. And I'm sure he'll have a say in what I'm about to say now. I'm pretty sure he will, because I'm pretty sure Stuart and a few others I've spoke to in the past all agree that 4 was an improvement over 3. That none of them say 4 is brilliant, but they always say, oh, but it was better than 3.
Because it was a ripoff. Yeah, I guess so. Well, and then you had Kevin
Williamson
back,
to write it.
And he just said, it was like a lazy job. I'm just going to take everything from part 1 because, you know, that was like, 20 years ago. So I'm just going to rehash it into this movie and think that these new teenagers are going to love it, you know?
I want to touch on that. We'll have to do it in the group, which we're part of.
Sound and Vision on Facebook and Instagram. Come follow us.
And we'll have to put a post up about this around about when this goes out, just to kind of, because I need to refresh myself why people think 4 is better than 3. Not that it's a major deal. Maybe it's just a case of 4 and 3 are really bad, but 4 is slightly better than 3. I don't know. It's just I don't know what makes 4, a lot better than 3.
Well, I think 3. A lot of people's going to say I don't even remember 3 because everything I remember before we started doing the podcast. I thought part 3 was everything about part 2, and then you're like, no, that was part 2, and I'm like, really? That was in part 2, and I was like, well, then I don't even fucking know 3. 3 just has no relevance, and it's really forgettable. Definitely forgettable.
Okay, 3 and 4. Yeah,
we'll have to put that up.
Yeah, definitely, because that's the question I want to ask there on the whole thing.
On the group.
Yeah, and Scream 4 came 40 million budget, 40 million, and it made back 97 million.
Holy shit!
Okay, now when you think the first one made 173 million
from 14 million.
Yeah, exactly, and then the second one made 174 million. So they made, I mean, my maths is appalling, but like way over 300 million on 2 movies, and this one less than 1 million on this one, which really said that the audience had kind of outgrown this movie and just weren't interested about another Scream movie, which brings us almost full circle as we kind of come to the end of this talk of the Scream franchise and what it inspired. Just to touch on the TV show that's kind of come recently, because as of this moment, Jason Blum owns the Scream franchise. So the evil of Hollywood has got his hands on this franchise.
Well, that was MTV also, like, Productions, I think.
Yeah, the TV show, which I'm going to ask you about because I've never seen it at all.
I tried to watch it. I think I maybe watched 2 episodes. I hated it with a passion.
What was the problem with it?
I think it's just they try to conform to, like, I guess you would do that anyways with any generation, but they were trying to put it in with this generation. So it was just everything that I hate, basically.
What Hope is trying to say is that she hates this generation. Which I'm sorry if you're from this generation.
Sorry.
Hope doesn't hate, really.
No.
Just anyone involved in the Scream TV show.
No, yeah.
Wasn't
I didn't like it.
group member Jeff Alderman? Again,
he's a fan.
He likes the Scream show.
And no, it's not different. It's not original. It's not, they try to make it different. It's just not good. It wasn't for me.
Is it still running?
I think so. I think it is.
I don't know. To me, like I said, I completely lost interest after 3. I didn't really desire the 4th movie, so I wasn't going to go and check a TV show. I'm sorry, Scream fans, but I really wasn't. I wasn't just lost interest in the whole thing. But I have to say, Jason Blum now owns...
Well, that's probably why it should.
The franchise. No, it's not even the TV show. He's going to rejig the films.
Oh, nice.
Oh, they're coming.
Yeah.
Because Bloom's going to do them.
Yeah.
And I'm sure everyone's going to soak it up like they soaked up that Halloween
that's great.
awful movie a couple of years
I'll
back.
look forward to it. Not.
Yeah.
I won't be asking anybody
like
who's their favorite scary movie, Sydney.
Okay. I'm putting the audience off now. We're just saying they're so negative over these films. Like, it's all Scream. Why are you doing a podcast on Scream and all you're doing is hating on it? We're not hating on it.
No, because it's one of my favorite. The original is one of my favorite movies from the 90s.
Okay.
One of my favorite slasher movies. I was blown away by it.
This is high praise, may I add? Like,
yeah.
If it's coming from Hope Ways and it's from the 90s.
That means it's good.
And it's a slasher movie.
And that means it's good. So,
yeah, completely.
I have much love for the original. It's always just when they beat down with sequels and stuff, and just like with any franchise, I think it's hit or miss. And so, like the first 2, like I said, is very tolerable.
Yeah.
I mean, love the first, second's tolerable.
Yeah.
After that, it just fell downhill for me. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I had anywhere else to go really after that.
No.
Not in my opinion, anyway.
No, it's just rehashing the same like jokes and kills, and who wants that, But then you say that about Friday the 13th, and that happens.
We stayed on for at least 6 of those.
I know, but I still love it because I don't know why.
Because you're biased?
Yeah, I guess so. But anyways, Scream 1, one of the best movies ever made.
Okay, and just before...
In the 90s.
And just before we kind of... I suppose it's got to be time to be finishing up now, but before we do finish up, is there a favourite scene at the whole franchise or character or just something...
Oh, like I said, just the opening scene with Drew Barrymore, I think is one of my favorites.
Getting the Friday the 13th killer wrong.
Yeah, and the scene with Matthew, any kind of scene with him and Billy, was good for me. Like them stabbing each other was that was hilarious to me because they had to make it look real. Like it was somebody and he's like, oh, you really hit my gut or something, like it's just a really good scene. I like it.
Yeah, that appealed to your black sense of humor.
Yeah.
Of course.
Some humor and guts and trying to kill him.
Okay, well, I mean, for what it is, it did change the face of the way horror films were made. In 96, it did change a lot. So we've had to kind of, it's a worthy subject, I think, for a show then. I'm glad we've discussed it here today.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
For anyone who wants to join the group or anything, I think Hope's already touched on where we are and where you can find us, so that's really cool.
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah.
YouTube. We're on there.
So, Scream fans, I hope we've kind of done you justice today. Although you're probably thinking, you absolutely ruined it.
We ripped it. No, we didn't. We didn't rip it. We gave love.
We did. I think we did. I think it was a 50-50.
It's only when they drag it on, like with this fucking show, like not this show, but the Scream show on MTV. Like when they drag on something and trying to rehash it, and just sometimes it needs to be left alone.
Yeah.
Some things need to be left alone.
What I will say, though, is if we ever make it to episode 20, I don't want anyone to think that we're dragging our podcast. They're like, oh, the early episodes are all right. This is absolute nonsense. Hopefully never. But we'll have to wait and see. So from this show today, to kind of finish off here, thanks everyone for listening. Please come back to hear some more. This is Ian James saying goodbye.
And this is Hope saying goodbye.
Goodbye.